What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel and check out the content. And with that being said, man, I just want to speak on this Gilbert Arena situation and point out a few things. Whereas though I think Gilbert Arenas is mindset. His mindset is what put him in a position where he was able to get played by, I believe, like Barstool, right? And I don't think a lot of people would make this mistake because I think once you get into business, I think people are like they take business like much more serious than what Gilbert did. And there was some things that Gilbert said, and he had a discussion with Kwame Brown and Anton Daniels, and he was discussing the situation. And a few things that he said in that video and during that discussion really just made me think that he went into this business deal like from looking at he was immature. His mindset was immature, and kind of like definitely he was inexperienced at doing business deals. But my point is, when from a if you're like, the saying goes, like, big bank takes little bank. If he didn't understand that, then I think he understands that now. He thought that he was going to go into this business deal with Barstool, offer them some, some equity in his business, and then once he learned how to operate and do the business, then he was going to be able to get out of that deal with Barstool. Now I'm taking that from what he said, right? So he's new to these type of deals, as you know. And I'm gonna play the audio, and I'm gonna stop the audio from time to time so I can point out where he made his mistakes. So he's new to these type of business deals. No, he don't have any experience, and he's going to try to, to set himself up in a position where, as though he can, he can do away with Barstool once he's no longer like, once he don't need them, like once they set up the infrastructure for him, and he know he know what he was doing. Like, I think that's a very naive way to look at business, and it's also like unrealistic and delusional way of looking at business. Like I said, big bank take little bank. He don't have any experience, and he think he was going to run game on somebody who is a billionaire, Barstool, and they ran game on him. So they saw him coming from a mile away, and as soon as the first opportunity came for them to get rid of Gilbert, that's the first thing. That's exactly what they did. They would have eventually gotten rid of Gilbert no matter what, as you can tell, because they changed the name immediately, and they knew, because of the contracts and the part of the deal is that they could do that. Like, they had leverage, and they had every right, because of the contract, to do that. But let me get to what Gilbert was saying, and during this exchange he had with Kwame and Anton Daniels.
About like webcam, StreamYard. I had to learn all of that because I only came to YouTube because I was beefing with him. So when I came up with the show idea of like ESPN style, because I'm learning as I go. So I had this channel. I know Matt Barnes. They got all the smoke, right? But they're on Showtime, so they have infrastructure. I got the knuckleheads. They have um what was it, Players Tribune. They have infrastructure. So I didn't have nothing. I just had a concept, and then this channel where I had like 1,000 people on it. So I made the deal with them instead of going with a platform.
All right, so this right here, number one. So people don't, and Gilbert Arenas was definitely like, people do not realize their value, right? Like, Dave Portnoy knew Gilbert Arenas' value and what he brought to the table better than Gilbert Arenas. And when Gilbert Arenas said he offered, what is it called? Something dogs. This is the gambling website. When he offered them 50% of his business, Man, they probably was laughing and I can see behind his back. I can imagine some of the jokes that was made when you offer somebody 50% equity in your business, and so, but people don't realize, especially people who are creative, because they don't have a lot of times they don't have that business mindset. So creative people, um, you know, they don't really think about stuff like this. But straight business people though, they looking at all the angles and how they can gain an advantage. And he walked right into them and just handed these people his idea, his concept, really his intellectual property, and he sold it for 50%, that, which is crazy.
So instead of going with a platform and you're paying me $2,000 an episode, I made a deal with the sponsor themselves because I would have been on Showtime, and then Showtime would have had Underdog as the sponsor. So I cut the middleman out and said,
Can I ask you a question? Mm-hmm. Can I stop you in between just to ask you a couple
so questions? He said he cut Showtime out, and he said he cut, which would have and went directly to Underdog. Underdog would have been the middleman. Again, if had he gone with Showtime sure would have had Underdog as a sponsor on the show, and then Showtime would have split the money with Gilbert Arenas, gave him a portion of it, whatever it was, whether it's 50% or however much it was, and they would have split it. So he probably saw that and said, well, all right, why don't I just go do business with Underdog? So, but what he did though, thinking he cutting out the middleman, he just chose a different master. He chose to go directly and do business with Underdog, but that's just like saying, I want you, Underdog, to be my master. And then, and that's the deal that he got. That's the deal he signed up for. That's the deal that he got. So people don't know their worth, and then they give away this crazy amount of control in their business.
Yes. All right. So because I went just purely based off of what you were explaining on your live stream, right? Mm-hmm. When you say you needed the infrastructure, was the show already pitched? Because some people are saying that the show was pitched to Showtime or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then you just cut out the middleman.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. So that part, all right. So I got clarification on that. And then the other question that I have is, did you think that the show would be as big as it's going to be? And that's one of the reasons why you gave up equity into it.
No, I didn't know anything. I didn't know if it was going to be big or not.
Okay. I got you.
So,
that changes it a little bit for me. Because I almost think that if you would have known, and you can correct me, if you would have known what it was going to do, then you wouldn't have gave up the equity into it.
No, I mean, still, if you know that if you think that you have a great business idea and you want to offer somebody a percentage of that, because they bring the technical know-how and the infrastructure, as he keeps saying, then you offer them a small percentage, and you also you like 10%. You could offer them. I wouldn't even go as high as 20%, but you offer them 10%, and then you set it up in a way where as though you maintain control. You're able to keep your name and all of that stuff. He gave up 50. What is 50? Because he didn't know how he said in I'm not sure if it's gonna come up there in this, but he didn't know how to do thumbnails, titles, and stuff like that, right? There are websites that you can go to and people will make a thumbnail for you for $20-$25 a thumbnail. So, titles, you can use Chat GPT to come up with titles. So Gilbert he was really delusional. And he put a price on his, people don't protect their creativity. They don't protect their intellectual properties. They take for granted, this kind of stuff. And that's how you find yourself in this type of situation. Because like I said, other people know your worth. When somebody else know your worth more than you, then you are in trouble.
Yeah, but it was the reason I gave up equity is because. So I used to do this in the weed. So I started in the weed game.
This is
right?
important.
I was I was the landlord. What I would do is I will have one of these growers come in.
Wow.
Right? They build the infrastructure. They build the system. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They build these elaborate systems. I let them get 2 crops in, and then I kick them out. Now I have the infrastructure, and then I take over the business. That was the same concept here. Let them.
So he said that was the same concept here. He was going to let Dave Portnoy and Underdog set up everything, and then he was going to learn from them like what it took and all this stuff, and then he was going to slide them to the side. Like I said, they saw him coming from a mile away. A billionaire businessman with all types of business experience and lawyers around him. No way would he have been able to do that, to them. And number one, you don't even want to go into a business deal thinking that, and he don't even know like how wrong he is. You don't want to go into a business deal thinking like, I'm gonna cheat these people. Once I learn what they know, I'm gonna get them out of here, right? You don't want to do that. That's not. I mean, I don't recommend you go into a business deal like that. And then so that's why he found himself in a position where they played him. He wanted to play them with less experience, less money, less business knowledge and business savvy, and he thought he was going to go in there and play them. That right there is just, I think Gilbert is just delusional. Like when you have that mindset, you think you're going to go into this billionaire's, you're going to do business with a billionaire and then cheat him out of a podcast. They do this all day, every day. And, his character is really what got him in this situation right here. Like he said, as a landlord, he used to rent out property, land, and allow these people who grow weed to come in there and grow weed, set up the infrastructure. They'll do a few crops and then he'll kick them out once he get the hang of it. Like that right there is something, like these people, these billionaires, they have all type of contingency plans, and they seen it all and done it all. And then, Gilbert Arenas is the one who played himself because of his character. He went into this business deal thinking that he could get over on them like he do people who, like guess people who do the weed, who grow weed, and he ran into the right one this time. But you want to do business with the big boys, you got to be on point. You got to have people advising you who you trust and people who are going to, people who are going to look out for your best interests, because he knows business and he got people on his side. Gilbert Arenas probably went in there by himself and just signed a deal. I bet you $3. He just went in there by himself and signed a deal. Crazy. He just signed over his concept, his idea. Now it's not even called Gilbert, like Gil's Arenas. It's called the Arena. That's crazy. But that's my take on it, man. It's just a lesson to be learned. Don't get out here and try to take advantage of people, man, because it's always somebody who's sharper than you, who knows all of the, get out here, man, and just try to do it the right way. Work your way up. Try to learn as much as you can. Sometimes even when you try to do things the right way and you try to learn as much as you can, you still won't make a mistake, but at least you'll have your character and you won't feel silly or look silly with this type of business deal. If he wanted to pass this business on to his son, or he wanted to, bring his son on, or like, it's not even yours. It's Dave Portnoy can bring his kids on there, and it's, Gil just look real silly, man. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.